Hello everyone. Welcome to the Ocean Sound Storytelling Channel. I am the storyteller. And today, I am so happy to be with you. You may be curled up under a blanket or listening with your ears on a soft pillow. Wherever you are, whatever the time, thank you for being here. Before we begin with an interesting story, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel, so I know you enjoy relaxing moments like this. Where are you from? Send me a little hello in the comments. I would love to know which corner of the world you are listening from. Now, relax your body. Close your eyes and let the gentle waves take you into a gentle story, a little strange, a little mysterious, but warm enough to lull you to sleep all night long. So, are you ready? Tonight's story begins. The request. Hear me, O Master, as we submit to your will for our meager and groveling desires. We beg and ask you to feel our souls as they bend and call to you, O Master, for your mercy and favor upon us now. We beg you to hear the thoughts of us all. Kevin, Robert, Dave with the beard, Dave without the beard, Steve and Stephen, Roger, and, yes, my little brother, Brian. We have brought ourselves to this place on this very cold and difficult day to ask you for your assistance, O Master. And please respond pretty quickly, because my brother is driving me crazy and the others don't have the nerve to actually ask for help. We seek your assistance to meet girls. Yes, my master, we submit to you and hope to seek your favor to have the females of our neighborhood submit to our will. Don't tell anyone that the first one to have any success with girls has been my little brother, because that would work against us and our desires. Besides, it was only one time when he got a kiss from someone in his class on a dare. She really did not like him, but he keeps talking about it. Don't tell anyone. Yes, I have been asked by Kevin and Dave with the beard to say that they do have girlfriends, but they are unhappy females who will not go to first base with them until they are actually serious about what the relationship is all about. No information has been shared to explain what that may actually mean. I suggested a ring, but Dave without a beard and Steve and Stephen think that this might be going too far for, oh Master, I have been told not to use their names. Brian wants me to put it into my supplication, and that this is not relevant if we do have your favor in these matters. From our deep study of the material, we know that you do show your touch upon those who are willing and aware to sacrifice what we love to gain your respect. I still think it would make more sense to use our full names, but some people are too frightened of your power to be that willing. So, we will instead make our offerings to you. We have brought you the following as our sacrifice to you. My watch, given to me as a gift for my 16th birthday, and linked with the promise that this was one that my grandfather wore for many years and wanted me to have. I never wear it, but it is a potent sacrifice. Dave with the beard has offered you all of his comic books. He has been collecting them with Dave without a beard since he was merely a child. They are both willing to give it up now, and it has nothing to do with the information they have provided this evening about their move to a new place and their lack of space. They are also not related, although it seems sometimes that they could be brothers, despite the difference between hair color and attitudes toward life. I will continue. Kevin has a very nice guitar that he no longer plays, a Rickenbacker with 12 strings. I have offered to buy it from him at a reasonable rate. A discount should be considered, but he has chosen to carry it all this way and provide for you, "Oh, Master, please accept his misguided offer. Seriously, I can play, and if he would just give me a chance, I could prove it. Steve and Stephen have. I must admit that they are family, not brothers, oh Master, but cousins far removed from different parts of the family and living in the same neighborhood. Yes, it has caused some confusion among us, but also some amusement. Their offering, oh Master, is to have a change of name. They have not yet decided which of them should make the sacrifice and have a new appellation, but they are making the inquiries needed to find out how it shall be done. I do not think this is the greatest sacrifice possible, but their minds are made up, I think. Robert has remained silent, oh Master, and we are beginning to wonder if he is really into this. His appearance betrays an interest in sports more than obedience to you and your powerful essence. We have asked what he would like to contribute to achieve our wishes, all of our wishes, and he has made a sneer and tossed in a baseball into the ring. It is cold, so we know that this was a special ball that came at the end of the season, but I still feel that this is a grave insult. His response of "take it or leave it" is no reflection upon your majestic power, but please accept that this is coming solely from his arrogant soul and should be treated accordingly. Roger has brought his savings bonds. We told him that his sacrifice should not be so obvious, but he is adamant that they will mature soon, and that even those in your particular plane, oh Master, should appreciate the money. So his offering is made, although I think that he may have other investments that are much more liquid that he is not willing to share with us. He just needs to trust us once. Finally, my little brother wants to sacrifice me. I feel that this would be quite pointless and silly. I also feel that I should inform our mother of this nonsense, but he has already threatened to expose our group to our parents, and I fear that I must allow him to do this. I would be honored to sacrifice myself, but I would like to be clear that this is done simply out of spite by him. The choice is yours. And seriously, oh Master, don't listen to my little brother. He won't really appreciate all that can be offered to a lost soul. He's spoiled enough as it is. Here endeth our request. C-section. Scar. I can pack all of my belongings and my son's in under 30 minutes. I attribute part of this to my military kid upbringing. My parents liked to live the minimalist lifestyle. They'd only put a few decorations up here and there. And while I hated seeing bare walls on each house or apartment we lived in, I definitely see the appeal now. My son is homeschooled because it is easier to do that than explain to his teachers why we move so often. And before you ask, it's not because of the military. Granted, my son is only in first grade, so I'm finding the material relatively easy to teach. But I'm sure in a few years, it'll get hairy. My son, Carter, is always a good sport about moving. He may not fully understand why at times, but he's too young for me to tell the whole story, and I don't want to burden him with that right now. This has been the longest we've stayed in one place. It's almost been 8 months now, which I've found is long enough for Carter to make friends, and I loved and hated that at the same time. Not at the thought of him making friends, but the inevitable conversation I'm going to have with him when the time comes to leave. He took the last move a little hard, and frankly, I did too. I moved us to the West Coast, a place I had always wanted to live since I was little, but never got the chance to. I wanted Carter to breathe in the saltiness of the seawater, put his feet in the sand, and build sandcastles. I wanted him to experience what it was like to just be a kid for once, and hopefully, put down roots. And he got to do that, but only for a measly 4 weeks. Now, living in dreary Seattle, a place I never wanted to move because of its constant gloominess and downpouring rain, is the place we get to call home. Well, at least until she finds us again. And I hope, for Carter's sake, she won't. I supposed I should now tell you the story of why we are running. On the day that I turned 38, I realized how quickly my biological clock was ticking. I had 2 failed marriages at that point, and I was desperate to have my own child. I did a few rounds of IVF using a sperm donor, and when I received countless negative pregnancy tests, my hope dwindled, and so did my bank account. I felt hopeless until my sister volunteered to carry my child for me and be my surrogate. I was surprised to say in the least, considering we had a rocky relationship over the years and rarely saw eye to eye. But when she offered to be my surrogate, it was as though we had a clean slate. Though I'll admit at times that I was jealous that she could be pregnant while I couldn't. But I knew without her, I wouldn't be having a child. I was just thankful she was doing this for me. Her labor was horrendous. She pushed and pushed for hours and wanted nothing more than a natural home birth. The home birth was one she planned for as soon as she found out she was pregnant. Instead, she was taken to the hospital for an emergency C-section. I held her hand the entire time throughout the ride in the ambulance and to the surgery. I felt as though I had taken a breath for the first time when I heard his cry. When he was set in my arms instead of hers, I watched her joyous expression turn to envy. As she laid in the hospital bed, recovering, she stared at him in the bassinet before turning to me. Can I name him? My eyes flickered towards her, her mouth agape as she gave me a sweet smile. Name him? I asked, still in awe. Yeah, I had a whole list of names while I was pregnant, and now that I've seen him, I have the perfect name. She paused, waiting for my reaction. I raised my eyebrow, and she replied, Elliot. Excitement was written all over her face as soon as she said it. While I didn't hate the name, I have always wanted to name my son Carter. There were no words to explain how grateful I was that she did this for me. But I couldn't just give up the name that I've been wanting to use for years. Carter Elliott Smith. Her face dimmed when I said this. So you won't use Elliot as his first name? I shook my head, and she plastered on a fake smile, one that I thought was real at the time. I love it. When I left to go to the bathroom, I thought I heard her call him Elliot. But I didn't know if I was just being paranoid and hearing things, so I brushed it off. The first couple months were hard, way harder than I was expecting. He was colicky, barely sleeping, and therefore neither did I. My sister was more than helpful, and even started living in my guest room to help with those late-night feeds and anything else I needed. It was perfect until I woke up one morning and they were gone. It took me almost a week to find them, and that was only because my mom managed to trap them at her house. My mom knew that she took him as her own when she called him Elliot. Now looking back at it, I wish I never would have taken her up on her offer. Not that I don't love my son, but I don't love having to move every time she discovers where we live. I hoped she would move on by now, but she's reminded of Carter anytime she glances down at her C-section scar. I heard feet scuffle in the hallway, and my breath hitches every time I hear the sound of shoes close to our door. Not knowing whose they were, I walked over to the door and stood on my tiptoes. She's standing right in front of the door, as if she knows I'm standing behind it. She smiles that sinister smile of hers and says, "You can't run forever." A decently modest proposal. Hey you. Yes, you. Reading this story. Don't worry. This isn't some piece of meta-fiction. I'm dictating what I say to a gracious volunteer who will post it for me. I've got an offer for you. And no, not like a door-to-door salesman peddling dull kitchen knives or what have you. You see, my offer is as genuine as a baby's first laugh. My name is Donald Basemore Cooper. Quite a mouthful, I know. My friends call me Donnie, DB, Coop, Basement, and so on. Take your pick. They're like paint samples. But the people I do business with, oh, they call me a lifesaver. Believe it or not, old Donnie here knows a thing or two about you. I'd wager 9 out of 10 of the people reading this are sitting down. Maybe you're lucky, number 10 though, standing up at work, browsing your phone, blessed enough to have clicked this offer. Maybe your job doesn't let you sit down like a cashier or that guy who takes the stubs off movie tickets. Regardless, whether you're sitting or standing, you'll realize that your feet probably hurt. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. Maybe sitting down is just a temporary oasis from the desert of swollen soles and pained pinky toes. But we've all been there. We all know what it's like to have our dogs barking. Think about it. From the moment you were born, your mommy or your daddy had a countdown going for the day you'd take your first steps. Maybe they even filmed it, a joyous occasion to look back on. But was it really? Because after that, you might have found walking fun for a year or two. Then you might have graduated to running, sweating off the sugar highs you'd get from your candies and such. But at some point, I'm confident walking and running just became, vanilla. Plain and simple. Boring, even. Hell, I'm taking it one proverbial step further and guessing it's just plain tiring too. Now, as an adult, say you can't find a parking space close to where you need to go. Now you gotta walk. Or maybe the bus station isn't that close to where you work. We haven't exactly designed cities around those of us without cars. Maybe your job keeps you on your toes. Go run this. Go clean this. Go serve that table of assholes their food, knowing they won't tip you. More walking, and even if you try and relax on a weekend, guess what? How long can you last until you go shopping at a store, or even a mega shopping center, floor after floor, dedicated to glorious capitalism, a shrine to enjoyment and consumerism? But your feet will have hell to pay. And I know I can hear some of you thinking to yourselves, but Donnie, I like to walk, run, and jog. Hell, I eat marathons for breakfast. I hear you. I promise you still gotta listen to my offer. You see, why do we do those things? If you ask me, it boils down to 3 different reasons. First reason, maybe you like an early morning stroll through the woods because you gotta de-stress. It's calming, serene, reminds you of your mama's womb. I get that. But it can't be the only way you know how to de-stress. I'm sure your buddies, the bed and the couch, would like to chime in and remind you how relaxing they are. And if you still want to be in nature, watch a bird or two. Park benches are right there, singing a siren song to rest your feet. Second reason, weight loss. You want to be sexy. You want to look thin. You gotta shave those pounds off of you. But I'm sorry to say, it's really all a sham. Society made up these rules as to who counts as hot, who gets to be on the big screens and such. They want you to look thin because there's more money for them in looking thin. Exercise machines, designer clothes, beauty products, all that costs way more than a bag of chips and cookie dough, if you know what I'm saying. And then they have the gall to make food so tasty, yet so fattening, to keep this endless cycle going. You pay money to get thin, only to pay money to get fattened again. That's the secret to beauty. It's just money wearing a mask. Don't fall for it. Live how you want. Don't worry about running to get thin. Reason the third. Maybe you run for sport. You know, it happens. You could have had a lazy eye and couldn't hit or throw a ball right. But boy howdy, you sure could run like hell in a straight line. Now, your pal Coop here wasn't much of an athlete, Most of my running came from evading the school bullies, who are now, hopefully, adult has-beens and burnouts. But that spirit of competition is a wonderful thing. It's food for the heart and soul. But it won't last. Sooner or later, your body gives out, and you'll just be yearning for the glory days, like a college alum still visiting their frat house on homecoming. You can't run forever, so you see where I'm coming from now? Almost everyone reading this declaration of mine is going to tragically fall victim to one day being so pained, so hurt, so egregiously tired, all from walking. Biologically speaking, we aren't even designed to be standing up straight for so long. Our spines are an affront to God, if anything. So, what do? What is Mr. Basemore Cooper here leading up to? What is my offer to you, my dear reader? Well, let me tell you a story. Growing up, my grandfather, or my Boompa, as I called him, lived on his own. He'd come visit me, walking up the 3 stone steps to my house, back and knee pains the whole time. Of course, I didn't know at the time how much he hurt. He was just Boompa to me, so friendly, so kind, bringing over an apple or 2 to help keep the doctor away for me, you know? As a kid, I'd run around the house or the yard, trying to play with Boompa, never realizing how he struggled to catch up. Then, inside, I'd jump on his lap as he sought relief on our couch. He's the one who taught me my dogs are barking instead of saying my feet hurt. Hell, he'd put a spin on it with the whole pound is a barking Donnie, and then he'd leave to go home to his apartment, up several flights of stairs, all by himself. And I'd beg him to stay. Please, Boompa, I want to play every day. And I'd wonder why my parents were just letting him go off by himself. In retrospect, it's even worse. They had to have known his legs were hurting, but they basically kicked him out into the cold every time he finished visiting. Why couldn't Boompa just live with us? Would it really have been that hard? Don't you get ahead of yourselves, dear readers. There isn't some skeleton in Boompa's closet. No sins of the grandfather. No wicked reason why baby Donald couldn't see him every day. The real reason? Independence. As long as he could walk, he insisted on taking care of himself, living on his own, and thus seeing me only a dozen times a year. Tragic, right? Your hearts must be breaking. Boo-hoo for Donnie. Nah, I say get that I was still lucky to even have Boompa. But you know who wasn't lucky? Boompa. Knees sore, feet aching. A lifetime of walking amounting to chronic pain. It really shouldn't be a surprise that he couldn't cross the street at a normal speed. So if you think about the number of stupid people combined with the number of impatient people in this country, it was really only a matter of time. Boompa couldn't possibly react fast enough to that car. Don't grab your tissues and start weeping. He lived. It's actually funny how tires crushing your bones, grinding your flesh, and spilling your blood across the pavement isn't enough to kill you sometimes. I wonder if Boompa found it funny too, lying there, waiting for the ambulance, dragging himself away from the mangled remains of his legs. Just a clean cut, the kind that would make a butcher blush with how precise it was. Just like that. No more legs and feet to hurt. Just like that. Boompa was at home. My home. To live with us. I could talk to him all day. My parents would take care of him, and he'd never have to walk again in his wheelchair. I couldn't be happier that he lived out the last few years of his life with us, fully provided for and loved. I'm sure he'd agree. I'll have to ask him when I go to heaven. And we could have had all that for longer if he had just gotten rid of his legs sooner. Don't you think? What I'm proposing is a free service, all done by me on the house, to give yourself the same kind of life Boompa had at the end. Fully taken care of, free from the stress of walking. You'll find new ways to relax, new games to play to pass the time, and losing weight. Well, a leg is a little under a fifth of your weight, so losing both, you're talking upwards of 50 pounds off, all at once. Way more efficient that exercise ever could be. Come on, working out is hell. All the sweat and the pains and finding time to do it. I'm telling you, my offer is way better than that. You might be hesitant because you don't have a spare wheelchair lying around. No worries. Part of the service is that I'll help you procure one suited just to your needs. What about housing? Making sure you can still move around. Your boy Donnie is right here. We can rearrange your house to be a more wheelchair-friendly space. What's that? Your job? Going out in public? Right now, I'm working on pushing the government to pass legislature to increase disability pay. Most public places have to be wheelchair accessible already, but with an increase to monthly payments, you'll have more than enough free money to use on both living and entertainment. You'll see, it really won't be a big deal to use ride-sharing services once you have the money from selling your car. How is the procedure done? Well, there are too many hoops to jump through to doing this in a hospital. God forbid us red-blooded Americans exercising the freedom we've been promised. I'll gladly come to your house instead. Just give me your address, and we'll pick a time that works best for you. Maybe you want the kids out of the house. Maybe you've been looking for an excuse to get off of work on a Monday. Certainly won't be going back to that job after we're done. I've got my bag of tools with me here. We've got some chloroform here, a new set of rags, some ropes too. I find it decreases the squirming if you happen to wake up. You don't have to worry about carpet stains either. I'll throw down a tarp. We could even set you up in bed for maximum comfort as well. Then you've got your choice of tool. The chainsaw is a wonderful choice for those horror fanatics out there. Plus, the noise will drown out any screaming that might occur. Again, if you wake up, but maybe you want quick and painless, or at least as painless as possible. That's where the elegant Japanese katana comes in, fully capable of slicing through bone. Maybe you want to savor the moment you give into a lifetime of relaxation and sitting. Or maybe you find your jollies from a little bit of pain here and there. No judgment here. But I've still got my trusty hacksaw here, still good to go from the first time I did this procedure. Now, the forums will tell you that a bone saw might cut better, but ignore that hogwash. With enough elbow grease and a can-do attitude, my hacksaw and I will easily get your legs on a one-way trip to Aruba. Never to bother you again. Don't you worry a hair on your pretty head. I know what I'm doing here. It's not my first rodeo. I've had plenty of satisfied customers in the past. It does take a little convincing, but if you met me in person, my pearly white smile would knock your socks off. Be warned, ladies, I'm quite the charmer. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up chit-chatting mid-procedure too. Why, yes, I'd love to take you out to dinner in your fine new wheelchair this Friday. I'll hold the door open for you and make sure you get home safe before I lift you and tuck you into bed, nice and snug. Now, in full honesty, not everyone is fully on board with this procedure yet. But I really am doing people a huge favor here. The couple of times they hesitated to say yes didn't stop me from grabbing the old chloroform here. I remember this one gentleman, surely an upstanding and strong man, didn't hesitate to start crying and begging me to stop once he was tied down. Those tears reminded me a lot of myself when I used to cry when Boompa left. Oh, how things got better for me. And soon they'd get better for him too. In fact, this young gentleman typing this all out is my latest customer. You see, I'm not the best with computers, so we cut a deal. He could keep one of his legs if he helped me spread my word far and wide. So here we are. If only you could see him hobble, a little tear in his eye. There won't be any tears once he moves into his wheelchair, with my help, of course. I'm not a monster, after all. So folks, if you're interested in changing your life for the better, taking a stand against pain by sitting down permanently, then I'm your man. For Donald Basemore Cooper, call 555-NO-LEGS for me. You want to be free, call your pal DB and make sure you hold on to those legs once they're off you, because I've got a great home recipe to share with you in the kitchen. General, my eyes fly open like I'm waking from the dead. I start up, tossing aside the blanket that had been tangled around my legs. Something woke me up. I kick dirty laundry out of the way and shift my body to sitting up, head swimming. The sunlight is too bright in the room, and I find myself squinting around. When I lean forward, my phone tumbles off my lap, hits the edge of the coffee table, and clatters to the floor. I wince. Shh! I hiss at it. Why is that so loud? It echoes through the whole house. I look down at the dark phone, way far away on the floor, and can't convince my arms to swing down to grab it. What's the point? So I can open it up and do what? I breathe in, smelling the stale smell of the old blankets wrapped around me in a cocoon. And because there's nothing better to do, breathe out again. I can feel stiffness in my stomach from the surgery, the stitches stretching with my skin. I'm hungry. I should haul myself to my feet, drag myself into the kitchen, and find something to eat. I try to imagine doing all of that, standing up, moving, opening the fridge, getting out ingredients, putting things in a bowl. I swing my head to the right. There's my water bottle. I can drink some water. I try to force my brain to imagine telling my husband, when he gets home from work, what I did today. I drank some water from my water bottle. I breathed in, and I breathed back out. I decided to keep breathing in and keep breathing out, because it was easier than not doing that. I look down at my right arm, and because it would be embarrassing if I can't even manage that, I lift my arm, pick up my water bottle with fingers made of lead, and swallow some water. I have been back from the hospital almost a week after my ordeal, and somehow swallowing water is still the most I can manage. The TV is on, and there's a very serious news lady droning on. She's talking about the spread of the virus, and there's a map with splotches of red. I don't want to listen to this, to see the red slowly seeping into our state, getting closer and closer to us. I want it to be quiet. She's talking so loud, she needs to be quiet. But I don't know where the remote is, and I don't know if I can remember which buttons to press. I lean my head back and think about going back to sleep. But if I go back to sleep, at some point, I'll be woken up again. And then what? Once, I liked waking up in the morning, greeting the fresh world and whatever the day held. Now, after what happened, when my eyes open, I just wonder when I can shut them again. I don't have to feel hungry when I'm sleeping, and don't have to worry about finding something to eat. Thump. There's a thump on the porch steps. My eyes trace past the cluttered living room, past the TV, out the window, and as he moves, I catch a glimpse of him. There's a zombie climbing the porch steps. I start to stand. Sharp pain shoots through my stomach. I stiffen and pause. Is that pain new? I don't remember it from yesterday. I leverage with my arms, stiff and sore, and haul myself to my feet. I kick at one sock that's slowly coming off my foot and shuffle around the pile of laundry to get to the window. Surely I saw something else. Right? I'm sure I didn't see a zombie. The lady on the news is saying to be very, very careful. She's saying that the virus spreads not just from the bite, but that it's in the water supply too. She's impressing on us how dangerous it is, because everyone knows that zombies are incapable of hurting other zombies. That's why it's spreading so fast. I reach the window and stop. My arms are limp at my sides, and I can feel the lopsided bun on my head slowly falling out. There's something damp on my sweatshirt. What did I spill on my sweatshirt? Outside the window, I see him. He's climbing the porch steps. He's lifting one foot, and he's looking down at it. Then he's dropping it, thump, onto the step. He's lifting the next foot. He's looking at it, then he's dropping it. Thump. I take a step back. He's an old man, a stranger I don't know, with stringy gray hair and mottled green skin. The brass buttons on his moldy wool coat still shine in the sunlight. Looking at them makes one half of my head ping with pain. His fingers are curled into claws. His face is gnarled into a wince. His teeth slimy and yellowed. I turn away. Thump. He's a step closer. I turn again. On the floor of the living room is a bath towel. Oh, that's why my shirt is wet. I took a shower this morning. I start to move, pushing my feet forward. One, then the next, then the other again. I reach for the doorway to the kitchen. Like, if I can find it with my fingers, I can draw myself through the doorway faster than my feet can move me. Why are my feet so slow? I kick the bath towel out of the way. It's still damp, like my sweatshirt. What do I do? I say, careful to keep my voice low. I'm somewhat surprised to hear my own slurred speech. Who am I talking to? What do I do? What was the plan? Was there a plan? My brain tried to slog through the past day to remember the plan. I remember my husband this morning. He was leaving the house to go to work, I think. He must have been, because he was wearing his jacket and was standing in the doorway. And I was sitting on the couch, heavy-armed and tired. And he'd told me. What had he told me? The same thing he told me every day. Do something for yourself today. Just one thing. I must have said something back, because he smiled at whatever it was. One specific thing. I reached the kitchen doorway. That's why I took the shower. I remember now. That was something for myself. Thump. The newest thump was so much louder than the others that I grasped the kitchen doorway to keep myself from falling. A needle of pain wriggled through my abdomen. Quiet, I hiss toward the front porch. The zombie had made it up the steps and is at the door. I can see his shadow through the window as he leans heavily on the door. Thump. He hammers again. Shh, I say desperately. He needs to be quiet. Doesn't he know he needs to be quiet? I start to draw myself around the kitchen island, one hand over the other, guiding my stiff body. It's not as bright in here, and I can see better. My eyes fumble over old takeout containers and empty water bottles, and the sink piled high with dishes. Piled so high with dishes. Before I went to the hospital, I would have never let it get this bad. The gloves I usually use to wash the dishes are 1,000 miles away, down on the floor by several pairs of socks. Thump, crack, creak, creak. I stop, my hands placed on the kitchen counter, holding me still. I know that creak. It is a sound that washes over me every evening and fills me with relief. Why? Why do I love that sound? Now, it's the sound of the door opening as the zombie walks into my house. The zombie is walking into my house. No, oh no, I whisper and look around the dim kitchen. Where's my phone? It's in the living room. Thump, thump. Footsteps in the living room, and I hear a ragged, rancid breath. Suddenly, my hands let go of the kitchen counter, and I'm moving, my feet carrying me, careening through the house, stumbling, unmoored, out into the hall and across and into the dark, dark bathroom. The door shuts behind me, and I blink once and again and again. Images of the spinning rooms spiraling in my vision before settling into the dark outline of the bathroom. Sink, toilet, empty toilet paper rolls, trash overflowing, and from down the hall, from the living room, I hear a voice. I can hear you in here. No one ever told me they talk. The zombie's voice drips under the bathroom door, snaking up my leg and draining into the pit of my stomach. His speech is slow and meticulous, his dead mouth trying to remember how to form words. You are breathing, the voice says. You are breathing so slow. Why are you breathing so slow? Why am I? I can't think. I can't make my brain think. All I can see when I close my eyes and remember is my husband standing in the doorway, looking at me. Why is he looking at me like that? Full of pity? Why is he speaking to me so slowly? Do one thing, he says, the words echoing in my sluggish mind. Do one specific thing, just for you. I did what he said. I look at the bathtub. I took a shower. A few water droplets are still dripping down from the shower head. I move forward, leaving the bathroom door. I hear heavy footsteps moving so slowly through the house behind me. I need to tell the zombie to walk quieter. He needs to be quiet. I hold out a hand, and I shiver as a cold water droplet splashes into my palm. I can barely see it in the dark, but my heart starts to sink slowly, dropping from my chest down into my stomach, where slow, steady panic is building just under my ribcage. Why am I full of dread? Why does the water on my skin make me feel sick? Why can't I move fast enough to get to safety? My brain used to be smart and quick. Now it isn't. I'm never going to be quick again. I will find you. I jump as the voice sounds again. This time, closer. He's just across the hall in the kitchen. He's looking at the sink full of dirty dishes. I yank my hand out of the shower like it's a fire and start moving again, letting my feet stumble and rush. My hand fumbles on the doorknob and the door swings open, and I see a shadow cutting across the floor of the hall. I've lost a sock, and my feet stamp. 1, 2, 1, 2, down the hall. I pass a closed bedroom door on my way. Shh. I need to be quiet. Stop being so loud. Why are you running? The rasping voice grates through the house. I can feel you. You're tired. You want to sleep. I reach the basement stairs, and I stop. To my left, the back door of the house, leading out into the overgrown backyard, and the bright sunlight dappling on the grass and flowers. I think I can smell the fresh grass and perfume of the flowers, even from here. And to my right, the rickety basement stairs, leading down into moldy darkness. You don't want to escape. Where is there to escape to, anyway? My feet are stuck to the floor. I can't run. I look down at my hand, damp from the water from the shower, and I remember that I took that shower for me, and that when I was done, I sat on the toilet in my towel, shivering and shaking, and I didn't feel better, and my ears were ringing with screaming, and my head was aching, and my stomach was twisting, and I was tired. I told them at the hospital I was so tired, and they sent me home anyway. It's all I can think anymore, and no amount of warm showers make me feel better. Why not? I can't seem to feel better. I'm tired. I turn away from the back door, and my feet drop onto the basement steps. I hear him behind me. Thump, thump. He's following. My feet hit the basement steps. Thump, thump. He's following. I reach out, raking my fingers along the concrete walls, balancing my stumbling legs and feet. Where are my feet? Where did I leave them? Oh, they're here, right underneath me. I reach the cold floor of the basement and step over a puddle at the base of the steps, and I pass the light switch on the wall. I can see from the pale light that shines in through the small windows, bins and boxes piled up where I left them, half open and spilling their contents on the floor. That was from before, when I cared about organization and neatness. Now, I can't even look at them. That's right, the croaking voice says. It's coming from the top of the stairs. It's grinding down the wood steps and splashing onto the concrete floor. Go down into your grave. Go down to drown alone. You do not want to walk back up again. My fingers trail along the dusty top of a box, then the edge of a bookshelf loaded with cans of beans and tomatoes and vegetables. My glazed eyes trail over the rows of cans, and I have to blink myself awake. I used to be different. I used to be awake. After what happened, whatever else there is, it's like I'm gone. I have to press a hand to my stomach, holding in my stitches and my guts even to walk. I miss the person I used to be. My feet shuffle along, 1 foot warm, 1 foot cold, 1 sock on, 1 sock off. I weave my way through the old bikes and laundry baskets to where the washer and dryer are crouching in the corner. I can hear his loud feet on the steps. One thing, one specific thing, just for me. I want to scream, to fill my lungs and holler as loud as I can, but instead it comes out as barely a whisper. Be quiet, I hiss. You need to be quiet. My hands rest, 1 on the washer, 1 on the dryer. I pause. I need to remember how to use my knees. I look down, and I remember, and bend, twisting at the waist, and bending my creaking knees all the way down until I'm on the floor. It's damp down here, water trickling in through the cinder blocks and oozing through the cracks in the floor. I place 1 hand on the cold floor, the water stinging my fingers with how cold it is. I reach behind me with the other hand. He's on his way down the steps. The steady thump, thump, thump echoing through the house. He's going faster because he knows. He knows why I came down here. Shh! Behind me, a dial on a metal safe clicks. Thump, thump, then splash. He reaches the puddle at the bottom of the stairs, and my eyes slowly look up. Up. He's tall and broad-shouldered, and I can see In the dim light, the glint of his yellow teeth gnashing together. His eyes narrow when he sees me. Click, click, the dial behind me. There you are, he says, and he's moving, his hands bumping into dusty boxes and canned goods. I'm still crouching, and I can feel the water seeping into my sweatpants. I should be shivering, but I'm not. It feels almost warm. Warm like blood, like my blood, pumping through me, swift and sure. Here you are, he says. The safe clicks open, and my hand closes over something familiar and solid. You're hiding down here to be found, he says, an ugly smile curling his gray lips. I'm holding the familiar object in my hand, and his eyes land on it. The smile widens, his teeth grinding together, spit dripping out of his mouth and onto his moldy coat. I raise a shaking hand. I pull in breath, and I let it out again. You can't do that, he says, his mouth fumbling over the words, spitting them out one at a time. He raises a crooked finger with a broken, bloody nail, pointing toward the ceiling and the floor above us. If you do that, you won't be quiet. Don't you want to be quiet? I do want to be quiet. I want to curl up down here in the warm water and sleep, where I can't feel hungry and my stomach and hips and back don't hurt, where my head doesn't ache. He must see my shoulders sag, because he takes a shuddering step forward. You came down here to die. No, I say, and my voice is louder than it should be. One specific thing, just for me. I can feel my hands again as they raise the gun I'd pulled from the safe and level it at the zombie. His old, dead eyes don't change or look alarmed. I'm here because I want to live. Bang, thump. Upstairs, in the bedroom I had skipped, suddenly startled awake, my newborn baby starts to cry. I look at the rows of canned goods, vegetables and used beans and soup. I think it's time to cook some lunch, all for science. It's a jungle out here. I'd been warned. Predators and prey of every size and description around every corner. Anywhere can be breathtakingly beautiful and equally breathtakingly deadly. Stay alert to stay alive. Even with safeguards in place, I find myself in terrifying peril. Time's running out. The end is near. I fear no help is in the offering. I am on my own. No hope left. It's getting more and more difficult to breathe. Humidity so thick, it's like sucking a wet sponge. But I can't give up. Yet. I see my short life flashing before me. Might pass out soon. How can this be happening? Won a grant to study rainforest in Amazon. All for science. Far back as I can, remember I had a love for plants. instilled by my mother. Rest her soul. She raised exotic plants. So I wanted to emulate her, made it into a great university. Oh, that hurt. Can't think straight. Getting lightheaded. Most of my history will be found in my journals. When did I last make an entry? Right. When I arrived. Was going to add more tonight. Oh, well, best laid plans. He has me pinned right where he wants me, trembling in fear. Grip tightens. Oh, hope Adam knows I really did love him. Wanted to be his wife, but so ironic when I think about it now. How we were saving ourselves for marriage. Mutually agreed. The right thing to do with our bodies. Not give in to temptation and all that. Yeah, we made it to some bases, but overall, still a virgin. At 23, could have gotten married long ago, but we wanted our master degrees first. I tried to scream at first. Takes too much breath. Now, look at my body. I tried so hard. Stay in shape. Stay healthy. Exercise. Eat right. There'll be nothing left. A pith helmet and designer cargo pants, if that. Ow. Think that was a rib. That cracked. Snap, crackle, pop. If lung punctured, maybe put me out of misery sooner. Yes, I should pray for that. Make this end, please. Oh, hurts so much. Get it over with. Already. Must confess all my sins and beg forgiveness. Please forgive me for not serving you and my fellow man better. Thank you for saving grace. Remember me in your kingdom. Please. So, X, Kruk, Ating. Think pleasant thoughts. Night first met Adam. Halloween party, college, junior year. Friend convinced me wear outlandish costume. A pleathery sleeping bag looking wrap that looked like a giant anaconda swallowing me whole. Ironic, right? Lower jaw pushed up my D-cup cleavage to my neck. Only my arms and head stuck out. Above the form-hugging, diamond-studded snakeskin created quite the shapely bulge 40 and 26-36. The upper jaw looked like a hoodie coming over my head. Adam and every other straight male took notice, but Adam's field of study is snakes. They're his passion. More so than me, I fear. He seemed jealous of my trip here. I only look at plants. He would have so many snakes to admire snakes. Believe. He would classify this charmer as a reticulated python. He has me wrapped in multiple coils, intending to make me his meal. I'm afraid, enjoying squeezing every last breath out of me until I pass out or die, making me easier to devour whole without a struggle. More bones he can break will make me slide down so much easier. It won't be long now, being crushed like a tin can. Everything hurts, breaths getting shallower, all alone on a hike, not far from camp. Stopped to examine flora. He dropped out of canopy above. Even if I looked up, he would resemble dripping vines. Was he stalking me, or I happened to stumble into his domain? Easy prey, fast delivery, knife strapped to my thigh. Once he had me in his grip. He moved so fast, I didn't stand a chance. Maybe butt dial help? Phone in my back pocket. Reached for it. Now, arms pinned behind me. Chest thrust out between coils. Pretty picture, no doubt. Oh. Try not to imagine the coming horror. Maws above me, already drooling. Smells putrid. I can hear his forked tongue testing, tapping my pith helmet. It deflects saliva away from my face for now. It's strapped on. If he tries to dislodge it, my head may be ripped off too. Less misery for me. Please let this end. With each exhale, he takes up the space, crushing me more, making impossible to get air. Oh, the pain, agonizing pain. Adam once told me. This guy is one of most efficient killers in the world. Only the best for me. Oh, don't laugh. Takes too much breath. He's getting more efficient. Once I pass out, he'll easily swallow me whole. Connective tissue allows jaws to open wide. He'll walk them over my head and face. Hope he chokes on helmet. Backward pointing fangs prevent me from escaping if I'm still alive. Sure, as if once prey in throat. Strong muscular contractions work mass down through long esophagus into juicy, thick stomach, all prepared for heavy task of digestion. May slow him down several days, my body quivering in terror. Carnivorous, 100%. No flora for him. Can swallow prey much larger, thicker than himself. He'll bathe it in lots of slimy, acidic juices and digest everything except hair and nails, things with keratin. Those will be expelled as pellets. Wonder about cargo pants and hiking boots. Someone someday find pile of designer scat? I'm such a comedian sometimes. Maybe I'll taste funny, so he'll spit me out. Don't wanna be snake food. Oh. Skalda, is someone over there? Behind those ferns? Help me, please. Fading fast. Out of time. Hello, Eve, my love. Imagine finding you here, hanging out with a serpent. You're turning a bit purple. Oh, Adam. Thank goodness. Save me. Can't breathe. He's breaking every bone. The pain is unbearable. Destroy this monster. Let me beat him with this stick. Let go of her, you horrible purple people eater. Sorry, not working, doll. Can't say I didn't try. Besides, how could I possibly forgive myself for destroying such a magnificent specimen? He's only doing what comes naturally. You look like a piece of meat to him. Can't blame him. He's made a delectable selection. Just look at the way he is working you over. Kind of like the way you twisted everything around in your journal I found back home when I was watering your plants. You were ready to dump me after all our dreams and plans, simply because I gave in to temptation and bedded that perky waitress. She didn't deny me any of her body, unlike you. Oh, can't touch this. Now who is touching you everywhere? And you expect me to save you? Adam, please, can't last much longer. The end is near. Tell you what, sweetheart. How about I make you a movie star? You look hotter than I have ever seen you, all coiled up, cozy-like, with that hungry python. Your boobs are sticking out between the coils and look good enough to eat. Oh, that is his plan, all right. Such a tasty morsel for him. I'm gonna film it all in the name of research. The eating and mating habits of the reticulated python. My favorite subject. It will pay for this nice little vacation I granted myself. But he'll get a good portion of that too. Let me help him out. by taking off that ridiculous hat and those heavy boots. Maybe I can slip off those long pants as you are slipping down the hatch. Don't want to be too hard on his delicate system. Hard enough swallowing a prickly prude. Smile pretty for the camera. Look like you are enjoying this once-in-a-lifetime experience. It's all for science. There you go now. You'll make a sexy, shapely bulge in his belly, my dear. You'll stay alive for a few hours. Be sure to thrash around in all the sweet, smelling bile. He'll like that. Gives him satisfaction. And it'll speed up the digestion, so the burning won't last as long. I did mention it's gonna burn a bit, didn't I? Have fun. The end of Eve as we knew her. Epilogue. Adam. I'm funning with you folks. Of course. I waited a couple of hours, then showed up at her camp where they were missing poor Eve. I led a search party, and we happened upon this large, long, legless lizard, lounging languidly along a sunny ledge with a bulging bauble about the belly. In the name of science, we opened it up and found a slime-covered beet red, boiling mad, but still beautiful, busty, blonde botanist. She never would marry me, but she made a fortune telling her tale of what it felt like to be swallowed whole. And my secret porn video went viral. All for science, you understand. Diary of a serial killer. How might one endure the silent and secluded nature of winter? Be the bear. Enter a deep cave. And dream, dream, dream. Jacqueline Suskin. I probably shouldn't be writing this, but oh fucking well. When the most precious thing lodged in your heart is ripped out and crushed by an unthinking alcoholic asshole driving with a revoked license, you do things, unimaginable things, and not just burying your beloved 8-year-old son, which was not on my shitty life bingo card, OVS, but life wasn't shitty before. The word should be capitalized. Before. No, better yet, the before, because now life was rent in two, forever separated by the gaping maw of rage. The before and the after, a fissure of overwhelming grief that quickly cracked, allowing the steaming, boiling lava to emerge from her core. Oh, he would pay. That drunken dickhead. His money won't protect him. Not from me. They gave her the code name Mama Bear, but he never imagined that she was holed up in a cave. On a hunch, he came out to the Pennsylvania woods at night, alone. Common sense and the FBI handbook would label his actions reckless at best and suicidal at worst, but he didn't fear for his safety. Mama Bear targeted a certain type of prey. Except for being a male, he didn't fit her profile. Funny. They were both profilers. October snuck up behind him, picking up the crisp air, tossing it around. Playing offense, it switched tactics, threw it toward his face, temporarily snatching his breath, He continued to climb, quiet, crunching under his boots, allowing the patches of clearing and the light of the frosted full moon to guide his steps. He'd reach the cave no matter what, so the easy way was the best way. He put his hand in his front pocket, felt the crumpled page of a diary. The paper crinkled like the fallen leaves underfoot. It was mailed to him at his office. This one and the other entries. He had the sense to turn in the others, but not this one. Well, most of the others. She vowed to herself that she would abstain from killing for a month. Or so she wrote. By his accounts, it was day 30. He hoped her undated entry referred to October. At least he would have a day, one day. It was easier than I thought. I would say too easy. But that motherfucker mowed down my baby like a shirtless, beer-bellied jickoff hurrying to cut the grass before the Buccos game. Maybe it shouldn't be hard. Justice shouldn't be hard. Not in the semblance of a fair world. Leaves skittered and scurried around his legs, tumbling over each other like playing squirrels. He stopped, inhaled deeply. He loved the smell of fall, that last exhale of trees mixing with ripe decomposition. I'm so glad I live in a world of Octobers. He smiled at the memory of his sister, quoting Anne Shirley. Not so long ago, his smile fell. Not so long ago, yet forever ago. Tragedy has a way of altering time, elongating some parts and compressing others. He looked up through the lattice of bare limbs, a web of gnarled fingers, the indigo sky stitched with rhinestones. Did the stars foretell it? It was the mutable signs of the zodiac: Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, BTK, Dahmer, Bundy, the ones born at the end of a season, not in the middle, like the fixed signs, like Scorpio, like her. You'd think one was enough, but it wasn't. I realized AA, alcoholic asshole, was just one of many. Sure, I settled my score, but what of the other moms? So many blights, diseases walking the earth, infecting others with their cruelty, their carelessness, their capriciousness. Someone had to bring order, just like Melville Dewey did to book classification. Zoned to 99. He considered turning around to walk back down the hill. He turned, but didn't move. In the distance, the twinkling lights of downtown Pittsburgh weaved a terrestrial constellation of bridges, one-way traffic, and sundry skyscrapers. The Steel City, just like its people. Metal backbones, gritty guts, and honest hearts. He craved a sandwich from Primanti's. Any sandwich. That was the last time he saw her. At Primanti's, the original one, he wasn't one to second-guess himself. His mom drummed it into their heads from the cradle. Trust self first, last and only. First, last, only. Thanks to the internet and social media, it's not hard to find someone or their misdeeds. What was once relegated to a diary like this is now vomited onto Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for all to see. Many lap it up, probably because it makes them feel less uncomfortable about their own stupid decisions and meaningless lives. Here for the mindless braggart. Many blowhards make for less research when it comes to this side gig. He cracked his neck, onward and upward, one foot in front of the other, crunching leaves, whipping wind, snapping twigs. Up, up, up he climbed. He was getting close. His hand reached towards his front pocket. Again, he read the page dozens of times, just like the rest. He couldn't help it. Just touching the decal-edged deanery page brought clarity and understanding. He had to find her first. Could it be that easy? I think this might be my last entry. I knew it was a bad idea. No, make that bad idea to write things down. But writers write. Fish swim, birds fly, dogs bark. Writers write. And mama bears? Well, unless you're bent from birth, looking at you, mutable signs. No one sets out to be a killer. Or, as I like to differentiate, a remover. Scrooge, Dickens, had it partly right. Decrease the surplus population. He just needed to add of assholes. Decrease the surplus population of assholes. Dangerous, foul, hollow assholes. He neared the ridge. He was getting close. He pulled out the wrinkled diary page. He couldn't help it. The moon illuminated the page, but he couldn't make out the words. Strange glyphs, occultic squiggles, just like those found on the astrological charts she used to interpret. Meaningless symbols to the untrained eye, but metaphysical gold to the mystic. He didn't need to be able to read the entry. He had it memorized, the cave. He could see the entrance. Dark, yawning, an inky maw, just like her rage. He reached into the other pocket for his flashlight. She beat him to it. Her flashlight shone on the ground ahead, so as not to blind him. Hey, sis. Hey, bro. What took you so long? The darkness. Darkness is upon us, Will. Throw me another log for the fire, would you? Father Beacon requested. There is no moon tonight, so we must remain vigilant at all times. On the morrow at daybreak, we shall continue our journey to the safety of Castle Divinity. I questioned not the decision to undertake a journey so late in the day. Father Beacon had successfully trapezed through the forest of Dean on several occasions. However, on each of those times, he had never had to camp in the woods after dark. So, it was surprising to May and our other traveling companion, Lord Benjamin Moore, that Father Beacon would choose to do so on the night of no moon. Now, this is important, Will, so listen carefully. You have first watch, so make sure you feed the flame. Never let it descend to ember state. Is that clear? Yes, Father, I reply. You are aware of the stories of these woods, yes? Indeed I am, Father, I acknowledge. But What exactly should I be aware of? I study Father Beacon as he unfurls a blanket to keep him warm while he sleeps. The stars twinkling above us in the clear night sky equates to a chilly evening. So a blanket tonight is a welcome cover, while the blazing fire lights and warms the small radius of our campsite. The creatures of the night, he replies after a long pause. The abominable. But for as long as you keep that fire burning bright, they will not venture forth from the shadows beyond our glowing pale. Do we have enough wood to burn? I innocently ask. Enough for my sleep, he replies. What after that? Pray that dawn comes before your last log is thrown onto the fire, he chillingly replies. Or none of us will see the light again. Now, take a drink of water from my dear bladder. That should last you through the night. I'll keep it safe beside me. I bid a good night to you, Will. My life is in your hands. Make sure you stay awake. Your youthfulness should manage that. I shall, Father. As God is my witness, I will feed the flames' hunger for food. My pledge trails off into the darkness as Father Beacon quickly succumbs to the exhaustion of this day's arduous long trek on bloated feet and ankles, balancing his heavy frame. Without encouragement, he quickly drops off into a deep sleep. To persuade the fire to throw out some extra heat, I poke at it with a small tree branch stripped bare of its leaves. There is no God, boy. Lord Moore's unsolicited opinion spits at me. We live through this night, and you will understand that, as I do. So, do not fail your duty. Are you not going to keep me company? I ask, hoping for some stimulus assistance to my lonely task. He declines to answer. I watch as Lord Moore produces a deerskin flask from his bedroll. Then, uncorking it, he takes a long swig, spilling drink down his bushy red beard. Catching my stare, he extends his arm and offers me a taste. Thank you, I graciously decline. But the only spirits I am allowed to consume are in prayer. My attempt at humor has the desired effect on Lord Moore, who chuckles out loud, the innocent wit of a child. How refreshing in such apprehensive surroundings. I am beyond the coming of age, I belligerently declare. 2 years past, I retort. Splendid, he congratulates me. Then, you are no commoner, I perceive. I am the son of a nobleman sent to mission on God's calling. And what of your king's calling, boy? If it is God's will, then I will serve accordingly. The shaking of Lord Moore's head and broad shoulders mocking me belie the inner machinations of what most would label a heretic. However, Lord Moore's reputation as the king's most trusted servant serves to silence any criticism, on risk of retribution. To the king, Ben Moore is an untouchable subject, granted immunity from libel and slander. However, there has been, on several occasions, the king's trust in his friend put to the test. Like when Lord Moore killed a monk in a monastery because the inebriated monk had physically accosted the daughter of Lord Moore's friend, the Earl of Lydney. It wasn't the killing of the monk that started tongues wagging. The dissent was primarily due to the shocked reaction caused by the monk being discovered in a small chapel of the monastery, nailed upside down naked to a large crucifix attached to a wall behind the altar, his entrails dangling like a butcher's sausage string, dripped coagulated blood that slowly drained into an overflowing silver chalice used for Sunday communion. When the king was informed of the atrocity, he summoned Lord Moore to his chambers and banished him for one single calendar year from Moore's own fiefdom. All rents in that period went directly to the crown. When the year was concluded, Lord Moore's rights and privileges were immediately restored, sparking whispers among the king's court of favoritism and privilege. To further add fuel to the tongue wagging, the king pardoned Moore, then gifted him additional lands to add to his already handsome portfolio. There is only the king's will and the will of the people, Lord Moore gargled between swigs of mead. God, if he exists, is merely a spectator to the fallout of that mess he caused during those 7 days of boredom. If you have no faith, I point out, then does that also extend to the existence of the devil? I ask, in the self-interested attempt to keep his thoughts consciously working and awake. There are only devils in this world, boy. No single devil, but many walking amongst us. If you ever get to see what I have witnessed in my life, you will come to understand that evil is not supernatural. It is not the fallout of imaginary angels. It is solely a result of man's own lust and greed. I defeatedly watch Lord Moore adjust his knapsack as he prepares to rest. However, the night is still long, so I attempt to stir him from his approaching slumber. Are you going to kill another monk at Castle Divinity? I unashamedly ask. Perhaps I'll kill you, boy, if you interfere with my sleep any longer. I push my luck a little further and ask the unmentionable question. What did he do? The monk that you killed, what I killed him for, was not just out of retribution. He had a history of molestations against females and males alike. The final straw was just the last on a list of uncontrollable aberrations. The church protected him and confined him to the monastery's high walls. I made a pledge to a friend, and when Ben Moore pledges something, he delivers. His words trail off into slumbering mutterings of approaching dreams, leaving me alone in the waking world, in charge of the two men's safety. A faint snap of a twig emanating from the darkness grabs my attention. Poking at the fire, I resurrect a tall flame that widens the area of light. Then, without warning, the hairs on my arms stand up on end. I feel something or someone watching me from cloaked areas of the forest. "Who's there?" I call out. I look over to Father Beacon and then to Lord Moore, but they remain undisturbed, as if a spell has been cast upon them, incarcerating them in a form of sleep prison. "Don't be afraid," a female voice whispers from the edge of the light. "I mean you no harm. Quite the opposite," she clarifies. "I bring you an offering of everlasting pleasure." My eyes dart in the general direction of her voice, but it is not until she steps into the light that I can focus on her presence. Walking deliberately toward me, she is naked as the day I was born. Her shape is curvy, and her long hair manages to hide her modesty in the appropriate areas. To be exact, her long, fair hair is empathetically saving me from blushing my own modesty. "Tell me your deepest desire," she demands to know. "What doth a young buck like you want more than anything in this life?" "I want to serve God," I defensively reply. Her echoing laugh sees through my nervousness. After all, I am still of the male species, and she is divine, delectable, and attractively enchanting. Does the boy always answer for the man? I answer for myself, and I answer to God. "So naive," she disapprovingly states. "Where I come from, we only worship ourselves." Dropping to all fours, she assumes the gait of a four-legged animal, slowly swinging her hips as she approaches me. A stirring within creates a bead of perspiration to form over my brow. My mouth suddenly feels dry, creating a craving for refreshment. But Father Beacon holds the water satchel and is not within easy reach. Not that I can move, because I'm transfixed to my seated position, lost in two dreamlike, dark pools, drawing me deeper into the strange visitor's eyes. I try to muster a call to Lord Moore, but my tongue has somehow been silenced. "There's no need to wake him," she said, before resting her chin on my lap. "What I am about to do to you requires no audience." "Do?" I innocently ask, my vocal cords returning to normal operation. "What are you going to do?" My quivering trepidation seems to excite her, causing her to breathe deeply in through her nose as she rises to her feet, her unusually tall frame towering over me like a giant addressing a dwarf. "Innocent child," she hisses. "Why, I'm going to devour you." In the blink of one's eye, she transforms into the most hideous of creatures that nature has ever produced. Her hair, now solidifying into some form of sinew tissue, opens into a webbed membrane from behind her back. The ends resemble the tip of a thick, spiky holly leaf. Her face is now unrecognizable, looking more so like the skinless jaws of a forest wolf. Gone are the seductive eyes, replaced with fiery red slits of terror, focused entirely on an area below my right ear. I freeze in fear, unable to move, helpless to react, as her mouth opens wide revealing pointy, sharp teeth throughout her salivating oral aperture. I say her, but there is no other label other than it to describe this hellish monster about to dine on me, tenderizing my face with each forced exhalation of foul air. I'm about to faint from the overwhelming fright when the creature suddenly jerks up in a howl-like stance as the tip of a long sword blade begins to protrude from its mouth. As reddish-brown liquid drips from its jaw onto my lap, the creature's head is abruptly severed from its shoulders with one swipe of the sword, causing an instant cacophony of screams and howls to cry out from the darkness surrounding me. Looking up, Lord Moore is standing above the decapitated corpse, wiping his blade clean with his cape. "What happened?" I croakily ask, as he throws a log onto the smoldering embers of the fire. "You fell asleep, boy, and the fire almost went out. But how?" "I was awake." "Beacon, I presume. Did he give you any food earlier?" "No, just a drink of water from his pouch." "Why? You may have been an unwitting accomplice in the attempt on your life," Moore explains. "However, bigger game was the intended kill. You were just the bonus sacrifice. I was the prey. You? Why, presumably, a revenge kill for my killing one of their brotherhood." "Do monks act out murderous deeds?" I asked, not thinking clearly. "Directly? No. But they are not shy of getting someone else to do their dirty work when necessary." I suddenly realize that Father Beacon is nowhere to be seen. Innocently believing that he must have panicked and ran when the beast attacked, I try to rally Lord Moore for a rescue mission. "We should look for Father Beacon," I loyally suggest, right before a blood-chilling scream rings throughout the forest, shaking me to my core. "No need." Lord Moore halts me as he gently restrains my worried reaction. "Payment for failure has been taken. All that matters now is that we keep the fire burning strong until daybreak, which shouldn't be too far away." "What was your business at Castle Divinity?" I probingly ask. "By King's order, I was to be Lord Protector for 3 months, as part of a penance for my deadly deed. Father Beacon was the emissary sent to deliver me to the castle. I hope and pray the king had no advance knowledge of what was planned." "What if he did?" I asked. "Then I would have to choose between justice and survival. However, killing a king is not always healthy for one's future." "You would kill a king?" "I would kill anyone that wronged me," Lord Moore bluntly replies, poking the fire for effect. I couldn't wipe the beast's image from my mind. Never have I encountered such a monstrosity. And I am curious, more than ever, for information. "What was that creature?" I ask. "Neither natural nor supernatural, nor a celestial creation or heavenly rejection. These woods are older than time itself. Who knows what lives here? Whomever or whatever they are, light seems to be their enemy, and darkness their domain. Since a boy, I recollect stories of the danger of journeying through here at night. Many from these lands that ignored the peril have disappeared, never to be heard from again. Their disappearances have always been after dusk, so I found the decision to start our journey so late in the day a very curious and somewhat suspicious undertaking. The reason now transparent, I added. Indeed, boy. It seems that a most peculiar but fragile alliance was made to prevent me from reaching my destination. The consequences of that failure already evident. Exhausted from the excitement leaving my senses, I sit huddled with Lord Moore around the fire, trying to make sense of it all, but secure in the faith that the dancing flames will provide extra protection from those in the surrounding darkness that continue to encircle us. As I stare into the hypnotic dance of hot flames jaggedly stabbing at the thin early morning air, a breaking ray of light in the sky catches my attention. Nervous though I am, I stand up in front of the fire and point toward its direction. Lord Moore, look! I exclaim. Aye, boy. He welcomingly acknowledges my sharp observation. As soon as that light tops the trees, we return to our homes, more the wiser and more the grateful to breathe in the fresh air of a new day. What about Castle Divinity? I ask. It will still be there, he replies, when I pay a surprise visit next time. The Gingerbread Cookies. The Gingerbread Cookies. Let's go downstairs and bake some cookies, like Mother used to make. The warm smell sits right at home in your nostrils, invading them like wild axe murderers, hacking and slashing their way through endless miles of human bodies that stand in the way of their inhumane, carnal desires. Shh, but that's too dark. It's Christmas, after all. So let's go downstairs and bake some cookies, like Mother used to make. One step, then two. Ooh, isn't this great? You've never baked gingerbread cookies before? Oh no, because you always thought that you would never be able to make them oh so good, like Mother used to. What did she say she made them with? Some kind of special ingredient. What was it? Was it sugar and spice and everything nice? Was it love? That special ingredient that every mother cooks with because you are their extra special little kid? Oh my, this is exciting. Your heart hammers against your rib cage as you set the oven to... Oh, you don't know what to set the oven to. You've never made these before. Probably 300 would be good. You bend down, spin the dial. But what's that? What the heck? There's already a baking tray in there. You take it out, confused. On it, there's a set of perfectly cut gingerbread men. They wear little black tuxedos with white buttons. Their smiles expose endless rows of sharpened, white teeth. And their wide green eyes watch you intently with their white pupils. In the center, one of them stares right at you, holding a folded up note in its tiny dough hand. You snatch it from him, not caring about the little man's feelings. To my little boy, my oh my, I can't believe how the years have passed. It seems like just yesterday that whatever secret deity governs this universe sent me to my untimely punishment beneath the earth's soil. I know, I was always so poetic, right? Now enjoy these cookies. I hope they taste just like how Mommy used to make. Love, Mother, Ding. Apparently, 10 minutes pass while you read that short letter. But to be fair, you don't read it once, do you now? You read it time after time until the words start doing tangos in your head as they spin spider webs around one another. Now, after it dings, you're supposed to put the cookies back in and start the baking. Mother said, "How hot do you bake them?" you asked. "Hot, very hot," Mother said. "But don't they not like being so hot?" "Oh, these little guys won't mind at all," Mother said. She slid the tiny men into the 300-degree heat chamber. She smiled. There was really nothing to it. Nothing to it. Well, there's nothing to it, you think, as you slide the baking tray in, and as the minutes tick by, their faces change. No more are the artificial smiles plastered on by a woman who would ruthlessly murder them. Now are the faces of men who know their deaths are coming. Smiles that slowly flatten in the corners as 3 minutes turn to 4, 5 minutes to 6, until the red frosting of their mouths fall clean off, and they can't shout for help. Just as you couldn't call the ambulance when you're there. Mother started clutching her heart and breathing heavily, minutes after she slid the baking tray filled with small people into the oven for the final time, yelling for you to get the phone, to get up, to do something, and not just sit there as the people cooked in their torture chamber, and then they come alive. One of them pokes its head up, its blank eyes staring into your heart. It's lifeless, dull, unknowing of the infernal fire around it, like you on that fateful night, not knowing that Mother will soon be gone for good. It looks at you, and then it stands on its 2 stubby legs, stumbling as it gets up. It walks to the edge of the baking tray, carefully navigating around its still dead, unconscious friends as they lie down, their backs against the aluminum's sun-hot surface. It looks its friends in the eyes, and maybe it thinks, "I'm sorry that I'm here and you're not," and then steps over the edge, falling down into the oven's fiery, incomprehensible bottom. Clunk. "Mother?" you asked, your body shaking all over. Why was she on the ground? Why were her eyes closed? She may have been asleep, for all you knew. Maybe she was. Maybe. And then they all stand up. They look like an army, all dressed in their uniform suits. One of them peers down and looks at its friend, all dismembered and burned on the oven's floor. It looks more like charcoal than a body. They form a single file line in the middle of the tray, a gingerbread snake, if you will. And one by one, each of them takes turns taking suicidal leaps off the edge. And one by one, you catch their faces as they take their fateful falls. "Stop crying, kid," they all say. "Mother will be okay." Clunk, clunk, clunk. The gingerbread charcoal pile grows and grows until it is a small mountain. In it, you see a face. Mother. And she smiles the gingerbread smile, looking at you. And you can't tell if it is a smile of relief or a smile of scorn. But it doesn't matter. Your mother's smile is the thing you have always wanted the most. And if this was the way you got it, then so be it. But that smile rang hollow, now devoid of any meaning, any life. An eternal reminder that Mother is gone, and who's to blame for that? And yet, you bake those cookies every year, forgetting that you tried the year before because the waves of memory forces their dark underbellies to recede. And every year, you hope that they taste like how Mother used to make Stargazy Pie, with rumblings of war rolling along the coastline. The knock startled Cecil. His grip tightened on the pewter plates as a sense of foreboding took hold. Opening the door revealed a handsome stranger with refined features, as if carved from marble. He had jet black hair and eyes that glinted like cold steel. "Good evening and Happy Christmas," said the stranger in a rich baritone. "My apologies for the intrusion, but it seems my carriage has lost a wheel just up the road. Might I trouble you for some shelter from the cold while my man fetches assistance?" Cecil hesitated. He had been expecting his brother-in-law. He was struck dumb. Before he could collect his wits, his wife appeared behind him. "Marry a sec?" she asked. Seeing the stranger standing in the door, she apologized. "Sorry, I thought you were me brother. His carriage threw a wheel," Cecil said. "Of course, please come in," Sharon said, nudging her husband aside and opening the door wider. The stranger rubbed down his arms as if to shift rain from his finely tailored long coat. Though wary, Cecil relented under his wife's insistence. As the stranger stepped inside, removing his leather gloves, Cecil couldn't shake the feeling of darkness lurking beneath the polished, genteel surface. He led the man toward the sitting room as Sharon fetched some tea, hoping his instinct was wrong. The man shrugged off his jacket, folded it neatly, and put his Homburg on top. I'm Cecil, by the way, he added politely. And you are? Moloch. Abraham Moloch, said the stranger with a thin smile as he took a seat by the fire. A pleasure to make your acquaintance. What brings you to this part of the coast? Cecil asked. Sharon returned with a tea tray, casting a reproachful look at Cecil for not taking the stranger's bag or hanging his hat. Please make yourself comfortable, Mr. Moloch, she said warmly, handing him a cup. Just then, their 2 children peeked into the room, eyes widening at the unfamiliar guest. They had heard rumors of German soldiers landing along the coast and were wary. The tall one is Felix. The runt is Jasper, Sharon said. She busied herself pouring tea, checking his sack coat. Mr. Moloch's face soured. I seem to be out of cinder toffees. Bad luck? Perhaps next time. He then opened his bag and pulled out a few colorful Christmas crackers. The children's caution vanished at the sight. For your little ones, Mr. Moloch said, with a genteel nod, handing the crackers to Sharon. She gave them to the delighted children. The stranger made a show of patting his pockets. My apologies. I seem to have left my coin purse on my carriage. He turned to Cecil. Please, take this as a token for your hospitality, he said, offering a large golden ring set with a glittering red gemstone. Cecil politely declined. That won't be necessary, really. We're happy to help, Mr. Moloch insisted. But Cecil refused once more. Finally, Mr. Moloch returned the ring to his pocket, a flicker of irritation passing over his features before the charming smile reappeared. In her lilting accent, Sharon offered to share their dinner. There's plenty of Stargazy Pie and stewed greens to go around. 'Tis no trouble, Mr. Moloch accepted graciously. You are too kind. I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm on my way to London to view a portrait. Please let me contribute. It's not a bother. Moloch's voice rumbled like distant artillery. Cecil imagined the windows rattling. Oh, nonsense. Travelers are welcome. It wouldn't be Christian of us to turf you out, Sharon said, then turned sharply to the children. And don't you dare be popping them crackers till supper, she instructed Cecil to fetch an extra place setting and yelled to the kitchen for one of the children to bring the stool. So Mr. Moloch had a place to sit. Leaving to finish the cooking preparations, she tossed a meaningful glance at her husband. With Sharon gone, Mr. Moloch again offered Cecil the ring. Please, I must insist. Consider it thanks for your hospitality. This time, with no one else present, Cecil accepted it, sliding the ring onto his finger. The red gem glinted in the firelight. Mr. Moloch smiled, leaning back with a smirk. Cecil studied the ring on his hand. It looked expensive. How would he explain this extravagant gift to Sharon? She had refused it just minutes ago. Perhaps he could trade it in the village without her ever knowing. He quickly took it off and put it in his pocket. The family sat down to dinner, with the older boy pushing the stool into Jasper's spot. The smell of fresh bread and fish followed Sharon. Jasper's knees poked up too high, so he stretched his legs out to the sides. "Don't be rockin', Jasp. We've got company." Sharon put her hand on Japer's leg to hold him still. Jasper moved the wiggles up to his shoulders in defiance. "We've got plenty of food. I'm afraid we've mashed together our holidays on account of me brother comin' home from the war." "He should be along any time now," Cecil whistled. "Don't mind my wife. She's Cornish and a wee bit potty." Sharon playfully smacked Cecil's shoulder. "You familiar with the story of Tom Bawcock?" "It's Mariusec's favorite holiday, so we didn't want him to miss out." "Would you like me to recount the tale?" Cecil feigned disinterest, having heard it many times before. "It's just a fish tale. I'd love to hear it." Mr. Moloch's eyes opened wide. "Dinner and a show? You are too kind," clearing her throat. Sharon launched into song. "A merry place, you may believe, was Mousehole upon Tom Bawcock's eve. To be there, then, who wouldn't wish to sup o' 7 sorts of fish?" Cecil interjected. "Could you at least sing in plain English, dear?" "I was," Sharon replied indignantly, then laughed at her flustered husband. The children joined in teasing Cecil as she continued. "When Murgy broth had cleared the path, comed lances for a fry. And then us had a bit o' ska, and Stargazy Pie." Mr. Moloch applauded enthusiastically, rising to his feet. "Marvelous. You have a true gift, my dear. Thank you for sharing such a delightful folk tale." Sharon beamed, giving a slight curtsy before urging everyone to tuck into the feast before them. The children reached for the Christmas crackers. Mr. Moloch raised a hand. "Please, allow me to share a tradition from my home. Are you familiar with Snapdragon?" Cecil perked up, recalling playing it as a boy, burning his mouth in the process. He nodded with a grin. From his bag, Mr. Moloch produced a tin of dried fruits and almonds and a bottle of brandy. Using the lid of the tin as a dish, he tapped out a few pieces of fruit and doused them with the brandy. He lit the fruit with a match. They ignited in blue fire. Plucking a piece of dried apple up, he popped it into his mouth, then blew out a small blue flame. The children watched, enthralled. When Felix reached out, Mr. Moloch pulled the tin away. "There is a rule to this game, a way to show what you are most thankful for." He turned to Cecil meaningfully. "In this dance, with fear and shadow, reveal the ember burning deepest within. Speak not of fleeting joy, but lay bare the pulsating rhythm that makes you feel alive. For in the flicker of this flame, you offer the essence binding you to existence, the marrow of your being. Choose wisely, for what you express in this dance may echo beyond the crackling fire." Cecil tensed, unsettled by the speech. He started to object, but Sharon and the children insisted on playing. Reluctantly, Cecil nodded, hoping it was merely an odd tradition, and nothing more. Jasper went first, popping a flaming fig into his mouth and blowing out a wisp of blue flame. "My fossil collection," he declared proudly. Felix blew a slightly larger plume. "My brother, Jasper!" Jasper took a moment to decide if that was an insult, and chose to accept it as so, with a broad, crooked smile. Sharon selected a piece of dried plum, popped it in her mouth, and blew a modest burst of blue. "My singing voice, of course." She put her hand to her mouth. "Blooming hot." Cecil blew a flame and said, "Maintaining our thankful village, with all returned so far from the war." Mr. Moloch inhaled deeply, then exhaled an enormous, writhing blue jet. "Nothing," he uttered in his deep bass. They pulled their Christmas crackers. With a festive popping, a scattering of paper crowns and trinkets spread across the table. But then, Cecil noticed Jasper was gone. On the empty place where Jasper had sat was a letter stating Mariasek had died in the trenches in Le Cateau. Somberly, they had set the extra place for the missing brother. The first casualty of war come to their village. Cecil looked around, confused. Hadn't someone been sitting across from him just a moment ago? He felt bad for his wife. She'd been so upset. It was nice, however, to have a house guest. He also wondered why Felix was using the kitchen stool and not the chair set for his brother-in-law's spirit. But glancing at Mr. Moloch's smiling face, the questions slipped from Cecil's mind. Sharon offered to sing Tom Bawcock's tale in her gravelly voice. Mr. Moloch was eager to hear it. She began, "A merry plaise, you may believe, was mousel upon Tom Bawcock's eve." Cecil quickly stopped her, feeling something was amiss. Her voice wasn't her best trait. "It's a Cornish tradition about a fisherman during a time of famine who bravely set out in a storm to feed the town where Sharon came up." Mr. Moloch proposed a round of snapdragon, calling it a beloved pagan tradition where you express gratitude. Wary but enticed, Cecil agreed to play, as did an enthusiastic Felix and Sharon. Mr. Moloch turned to Cecil. "As the flames dance, whisper the heartbeat of your existence. Share not what you cherish, but the core defining your breath. What in your soul would you sacrifice to the hungry fire?" Felix blew a blue jet. "My boxing gloves!" Sharon smiled proudly at her son's first true passion. She blew her flame. "My son Felix!" Felix beamed. Cecil contemplated a moment before blowing his fiery breath. The proud, strong Royal Navy keeping invaders at bay. As the crackers popped, Sharon let out a wail. Felix was gone. Sobbing, she explained her boy was killed in the German shelling of the coast. He was so fond of untold fossils after boxing in Whitby. "My apologies for her. It's been a trying time," Cecil said. She'd lost her voice from ceaseless weeping over the past fortnight. Mr. Moloch looked pained. My sincerest regrets at your loss. They sat in silence for a few moments, so Sharon could collect herself. Perhaps a round of Snapdragon to lift spirits? Mr. Moloch suggested. My family tradition is to share what we are most thankful for. He turned to Cecil. You know the rules. Speak the fire within, the pulse of your sacrifice. What do you cherish most? Sharon blew a wisp of blue. My lovely home, Cecil contemplated before breathing his flame. My beautiful wife, Mr. Moloch rumbled. Nothing, his jet dwarfing theirs. The crackers popped like artillery fire as Cecil transitioned to sitting with Mr. Moloch in a seaside shack. Cecil drank heavily from the offered brandy, lamenting his wife, his children, his home, his brother. He stared at the letter, telling of his brother-in-law's death. Cecil's memories slipped away like vapor. He regretted not living the life he wanted, blaming the demon drink that stole his wife, kids, and chance to take his place in battle. Mr. Moloch offered dried fruit and a game of Snapdragon to lift his spirits. Sacrifice the spark, keeping your flame alive, fueling your dance in shadows, he instructed. Cecil blew a wisp of blue. My health? Mr. Moloch rumbled. Nothing. Then he offered a Christmas cracker. The pop left a hint of black powder in the air. In a bedroom, Mr. Moloch sat beside Cecil. They played again, Cecil sacrificing his only prized possession, the ring sitting heavy in his pocket. Mr. Moloch blew out a large flame and crunched into his almond, then said, nothing. Cecil stood to pull the cracker. Mr. Moloch assisted Cecil's palsied hand. A pop and a wisp of smoke. Cecil reached for the flaming fruit, blew out a flame. My home. They pulled the cracker together. Mr. Moloch offered his coat to Cecil, a destitute man on the roadside. He pulled a table and chairs from the back of his broken coach, then invited Cecil to share some Stargazy Pie while his carriage was repaired. Cecil recognized the pie and table. Memories of his wife and children flooded back. He despaired at their loss. The rancid pie at the end of Cecil's ordeal seemed a mockery, stale remnants of a life freely sacrificed to an insatiable demon. Despite this, the food was more than welcome. Each bite revealed years of life, each crumb a precious scene. He ate at his memories as a starved man. Please return all as it was. I refuse to play Snapdragon any longer, he pleaded. Mr. Moloch just smiled. One final cracker. He shook the cracker enticingly. Cecil cried, my life. I'd trade my life for theirs. Finally, Mr. Moloch uttered, holding out the cracker. This time, Cecil got the bigger half. Dreadful luck, Cecil. He set the paper crown atop Cecil's head. Strands of Cecil's hair drifted onto Mr. Moloch's sleeve. Cecil sat numbly as Mr. Moloch brushed off the fallen hair. gingerly placing one in his front vest pocket. You traded your life, family, and youth for a ring. Then, even the ring you returned. When will humans learn to give selflessly? But what of my children's souls? Cecil asked, his voice frail, but insistent. Their bodies, I can find a use. Their souls are their own, replied Moloch, tapping his finger to his lips. You know, I never ask for children, yet I'm often offered them. Perhaps you know why humans so eagerly trade their future. Cecil had a coughing fit. I am not heartless, spiritually, added Moloch. I can offer you one last challenge, a gift if you answer a riddle. But you would not know the gift beforehand. Having nothing left, Cecil accepted the challenge. This one was from a Canaanite whom I knew several lifetimes ago. In every heartbeat and every sigh, I'm the reason you laugh and the tears you cry. From the first cry of newborn breath to the quiet stillness at death's edge. What am I? Moloch adjusted his hat and waved to his coach. I am expected in London to collect a portrait of a young man. It seems its owner has withered away in a locked room. The damn fool. He smiled. Souls aren't typically my business, but that fellow. Please let me think in silence. Moloch shrugged. Life, Cecil said, sure of his answer. Please give me my family, my wife, Jasper. I beg you, I want peace. Please, I have given up everything. Correct, Moloch said. He handed Cecil a draft. If you drink it, none of this would matter. He waved his hands theatrically. Far out at sea, a ship was on fire. The scent of gunpowder and death rolled over the seaside like a fog. Cecil was caught by hope's web. He imagined he'd wake with his family by his side. So he drank without hesitation. The blue liquid smelled of blueberries and spirits. The flavor was a simple, mildly floral sweetness, but empty, like drinking a hole. He was alone, holding an empty bottle. He began a long, quiet walk down a dark road. A carriage passed within a beautiful voice rang out. A merry plays you may believe was mousel upon Tom Bawcock's eve. To be there, then wooden wesh, to sup o sibm sorts o fesh. When Morgie broth had cleared the path, comed lances for a fry, and then us had a bet and Stargazy Pie. Necks cummed for mods, brathusti jods, as mod are oozles, dry, and ling and hock, enough to make a raunin shark to sigh. A H wed clunk as elth were drunk, and bumpers bremen why. And when up come Tom Bawcock's, nam we praised unto the sky. Two boys waved from the carriage window at the old man wearing a paper crown. Cecil smiled at them as they passed. On 25th December, an unofficial truce was declared along the Western Front. peace for a day. Perhaps Moloch was not entirely heartless. Cecil did ask for peace. Elf off the shelf. From the beginning, there had only ever been one rule. Don't let anyone see you move. But after what I saw tonight, I was afraid I was going to have to break that rule. The Duncans' house was full of people. From inside Mrs. Mitchell's purse, I carefully peeked out through the open zipper and saw dozens of recognizable faces. People who had come over to pick up Oliver and Squires' friends over the years. They were all laughing and eating and drinking merrily, despite Christmas having already passed. This I knew, because Mrs. Mitchell had already put me away for the season, which made it even more exciting when she had come back to retrieve me again so soon. Everyone was dressed festively in gold, green, and red. The Christmas tree was still brightly shining, and stockings still hung on the mantel above a lit fireplace. Jingle tunes buzzed across the room, and the smell of spiced cider simmered about. As I scanned the festive room, delighting in all its magic, I spotted a familiar face. But it was not just any face. No, this face looked quite like mine. So much like mine. In fact, I was certain it was mine. But was it possible? Another one of us had been granted access to such an exclusive event after Christmas? What were the odds? It took all my training and discipline, much like the effort I'd put forth when Mr. Mitchell accidentally dropped me in the toilet a few years back, not to call out and wave to my North Pole brother. Our mission had always been deemed a solo one. We'd known from the start that once we were sent off, it would be unlikely for us to see another of our kind again. Instead of calling out, I admired my fellow soldier for his composure and his stillness. His Mr. and Mrs. had him out for all to see. Not that we weren't used to being put on display. That was a rather big part of our job. But never had any of us, so I'd thought, been brought to an event like this. I imagined he was as gleeful and giddy about the whole thing as I was, but from where I watched, you'd never be able to tell. The sign of a strong soldier, indeed. Suddenly, a loud clinking sound echoed through the room. With a tap, tap, tap of his glass, Mr. Duncan had silenced the bustling crowd. Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted you're all here, he bellowed. I'm pleased to welcome you to our third annual Elf Off the Shelf ceremony, where we, dedicated and loving parents, get to liberate ourselves from this torturous and time-consuming holiday tradition, now that our children have outgrown their childish beliefs in the magic of Christmas. A loud cheer erupted across the room, but I didn't understand what they were cheering about. Liberate themselves? What holiday tradition tonight? We have two families who will be liberated. The Halberries and the Mitchells. Please, give these lovely couples a congratulatory round of applause for their long years of shelving their elves. Another roar rose across the room, and it was then that I realized why Mrs. Mitchell had brought me here. Suddenly, I felt heavy, heavier than I felt on the days when Mrs. Mitchell unboxed me, having grown stiff after months of storage. Heavier than Mr. Mitchell when he accidentally sat on me. I dropped down below the zipper of the purse, letting the darkness and the realization consume me. They've come to liberate themselves from me. But what did that mean? I heard Mr. Duncan start talking again, so I lifted my head up out of the zipper. Would either of you like to go first? Mr. Duncan stared toward Sarah Halberry on the other side of the room, and just as he was about to look in my direction, Sarah cried out, "I would!" Her hand was raised and flailing. Her enthusiasm stung, and I hoped Mrs. Mitchell would not be so thrilled to part from me. Surely, she wouldn't be, right? I snuck a peek at her face, but it was unreadable. Her eyes were glued on Sarah, who clutched my twin, Polly, between her fingers. Still, he did not flinch. What are they going to do with him? Chuckling at her enthusiasm, Mr. Duncan said, "Well, come on up here, darling. Bring old Polly with you for everyone to see." With Sarah now at Mr. Duncan's side, he began, "Well, Sarah, I can tell you're excited to get on with it, but we've got a few things to get through before we say goodbye to little Polly. Tell us, you dedicated how many years to this little guy? 17 years? Now, Sarah was holding Polly displayed on the palm of her hand, oscillating her arm from left to right to show the whole room his face. Whoa, 17 years? You must have started right when these little guys came out, huh? Sarah nodded proudly, but her eyes seemed to say something darker, nearly bulging out of her head. I sure did. Well, that's just fantastic. Really, really fantastic. So, let's see here, huh? Can you tell me one of your favorite memories with Polly? Mr. Duncan asked. My favorite memory. Sarah stopped turning and pulled Polly closer to herself, inspecting him. I noticed her face soften as her memory scanned the past, and I couldn't help think about my own favorite memory with the Mitchells, remembering the time she moved me into the fridge. It had been a cold night in there, but when Oliver found me in the morning, clutching an empty pickle jar, his childish giggles warmed me right up. And when he and Schuyler told Mrs. Mitchell that I'd climbed into the fridge and ate all the pickles, Mrs. Mitchell pretended she knew nothing about it. That was the moment I fell in love with the Mitchell family. And that was why I was having such a hard time understanding why the Mitchells were planning to get rid of me. We were part of their families, didn't they see that? I guess it would have to be the time I wrapped one of his legs with tissue paper and wrote a little sign next to him that said, "In recovery. I'll be healed in 3 days." Ugh, it was such a relief not to have to move him for half a week. The room exploded with more applause and cheering. I'd remembered when Mrs. Mitchell had done something similar, setting me up on a small towel underneath a houseplant. Her note had said that I was on a vacation and that I'd be back the next day. I'd appreciated the break. Having to hold still in all sorts of poses around the house is not exactly easy. But I'd thought she was doing it to relieve me, a kind reward for all my hard work. Very creative, Sarah. And those of us who are still shelving our elves certainly have a lot to learn from your innovative ideas, don't we? Now, care to indulge us in your worst memory with Polly? We like to end on a bad note, as it tends to make the final goodbye a little easier. Mr. Duncan chuckled. Something about the way he said "final goodbye" made me uncomfortable, and Mrs. Halberry's sinister smile only made me feel worse. The worst memory with Polly? I watched as she squeezed Polly in her hands, and it felt as if I were the one between her tense grip. Now that's easy. The pause in her words held the room nearly silent, save for the crackling of the fire. It was not like the magical silence of stockings waiting to be filled by Santa on Christmas Eve. Rather, it was full of darkness. I couldn't take my eyes off of Mrs. Halberry and poor Polly, so helpless in her hands. And then he wasn't in her hands anymore. I'd barely heard Mrs. Halberry say all of it before I saw Polly soaring in midair towards the fireplace, his smile brightly intact as he was flung into the flames. I watched, speechless, horrified, trembling, as Polly landed amidst the blazing inferno. The fire popped and bloomed as it devoured him, engulfing his hat and body instantly in vicious heat. My eyes begged me to make it stop, but I couldn't look away. I wanted to scream, "No!" and to leap out of Mrs. Mitchell's purse and lunge to Polly's rescue, but I was frozen in my terror. Why was nobody doing anything? Why did nobody stop that wretched Mrs. Halberry? How could they let? That's when the sounds of celebration finally registered. They were cheering. They were whooping and hollering. I peeked a glance at Mrs. Mitchell and almost fainted at the sight of her. She was clapping, smiling even. What was this party of horror? Who was this woman I had dedicated my existence to? This was certainly not the Mrs. Mitchell I knew. This was, "Well done," Mr. Duncan guffawed, patting Mrs. Halberry on the shoulder. Guess you were too eager to wait for the formalities, huh, Sarah? Feels good, doesn't it? She was jumping up and down and clapping next to him, a smile as grand as a child's on Christmas morning. Monster. She was a monster. All right, dear. The whole party thanks you for your contribution and your entertainment. Why don't you go join Paul? And we'll invite the Mitchells up here for their liberation, shall we? If my heart had been working, it wasn't anymore. I dropped back into Mrs. Mitchell's purse, unsure if I had the discipline to conceal my terror. Somewhere inside me, I knew the truth, but I couldn't fight my denial from at least trying. Would the Mitchells really kill me? Mrs. Mitchell's hand found me and pulled me from my dark haven. In that moment, time seemed to slow down. Not like how it does on Christmas to assists Santa's impossible task, but like the sensation of fear, where every minute movement and sensation feels important because you're unsure if it will be your last. I had hoped all of it would be revealed as a dream, but as I rose out from the zipper, I saw the same malevolent faces, all of them staring hungrily in my direction. I'd had no context for such evils, had not even fathomed such perversities could exist around Christmas. And yet, there I was, the target of a ruthless and angry mob of parents. Mrs. Mitchell was quicker and peppier than I'd expected her to be, scurrying towards the front of the fireplace, eager for her turn at murderous betrayal. I did the only thing I knew how to do, the only thing I'd been trained to do. I remained still, sitting poised and cheerful in her hands as she showed me off to the pack of wolves like a sliced Christmas ham. This is Skipper. We got him when our oldest was 2.5, so he's been a tradition in our home for nearly 14 years. I was so relieved when Skylar told me she no longer cared for the stupid thing. Gasp. What an awful thing to say. Carla told me about this little ceremony she conjured up a few years ago. And since then, I just couldn't wait for my day to come. A murmur was rising in the crowd when Mr. Mitchell made his way to Mrs. Mitchell's side. He wrapped his arm around her waist and said, "Oh, come on, dear. You're not even a little sad about it. It's the end of an era." People snickered, and Mr. Mitchell's smile grew wide. I recognized his joking tone, but now it felt like pure mockery. It made me wish I'd never forgiven him for leaving me in the bathroom that day. Mrs. Mitchell tilted her head in consideration and placed a hand on Mr. Mitchell's face. "Aw, honey, there's a lot about the kids being little that I'll miss, but this isn't one of them. Maybe if you'd been more helpful." She pinched his cheek, and they both giggled like mischievous beasts plotting their most vile acts. "I helped," Mr. Mitchell defended. This time, it was mostly just the men in the room who laughed. "You moved him twice in 14 years. They were great hiding places, Mrs. Mitchell scoffed. The toilet is not what I consider a great place, Sam. Okay, that time didn't count. I brought him to the bathroom with me and forgot about him. More to my point, you weren't helpful? Mrs. Mitchell pecked Mr. Mitchell on the lips. It's okay. I still love you. But you'll forgive me for being a little excited to not have to do this anymore. Mr. Duncan slung an arm around Mrs. Mitchell's shoulder. All right, you two. I can see you're just as eager as Sarah was. So should we get on with it then? We know Skipper's name, and I'm assuming your worst memory with him was this, toilet incident. Is that right, Sam? Are there any good memories with Skipper you care to share before your final goodbye? Lifeless in her hands, I willed her to remember all our good times together. They had to have been real to her. They had to have meant something, the way I know they meant something, not just to me, but to Skylar and Oliver. Remember their little faces, lit up each morning at the surprise of my new location. Remember how happy they were when Thanksgiving ended because they knew I would arrive soon. I'd brought joy to them for 14 years. How was it possible that they could throw me away? Well, there was one thing. Mrs. Mitchell's voice trailed off. I felt her grip loosen slightly, and a sparkle of hope twinkled in my soft, fluff-filled belly as she turned me in her hands to face her. Lifting me up to her eye level, she stared directly into mine, and I saw 1,000 memories swirling around her glistening green eyes. I'd always thought they looked like the most beautiful holiday wreaths in the world. I'd admired them so many times, but this time I begged her to return the favor. Which moment was she remembering now? The time I mowed the lawn? Or the time I built a gingerbread house and ate part of the roof? Whatever point in our past it was, I wondered if it would be enough to change her mind about all of this. Oh, never mind. All of it was just silly, and I'm so relieved to be done with it. Yeah! The crowd cheered, and my heart sank lower than the thermostat at the North Pole. She was really going to go through with it. What was I going to do? I heard Mr. Duncan spouting off more jokes, and I knew I was losing time. If I didn't do anything soon, I was about to be tossed into the fireplace alongside my now molten friend, Polly. Poor Polly. Had he even an inkling of what his fate had in store for him? Had he loved and trusted the Halberries as I had loved and trusted the Mitchells? I had not known him well, but I'd like to believe that if he'd had any idea about what they were going to do to him, he would have done something to stop it. Even if it meant breaking the #1 rule, I was still gazing into Mrs. Mitchell's eyes when I saw her lips beginning to form the words, "Goodbye." It was then that I decided I wouldn't let this happen. It was then that I broke my stillness. I leaned forward and slapped her across the face. "How dare you?" I huffed, and the sound of my own voice shocked me, for it had been many years since I heard it. I thought we were family, but families don't burn other members of their family. With my voice being so high-pitched and quiet, it took a moment for everyone to realize what was happening. But once they saw Mrs. Mitchell's face, frozen in an expression of horror, the room fell deathly silent. "Skipper?" Mrs. Mitchell breathed, but by then, I was already out of her hands. I jumped up onto the fireplace mantel and raced across it. I grabbed a hold of some tinsel garland and flew myself across the room towards the Christmas tree, grateful that this one still had its star-shaped tree topper. I remembered long, long ago when Santa had warned us that if we'd ever had an emergency, it was the tree toppers that could quickly transport us to safety. The fear that they might catch me fueled my speed, and quickly I climbed through the branches, the ornaments, and the string of lights all the way up to the top, feeling every single malicious eye searing through my back. Once I finally reached the top, I was breathless. I turned to face the room of malevolent demons and realized my fear had been unwarranted. None of them had moved an inch since I'd sprang into action. Every single one of them was frozen, mouth agape, and staring, as petrified as I had been, watching from within Mrs. Mitchell's purse. I even saw Sarah peek towards Polly's ashen remains in the fireplace. I scanned the faces of them all, and when I landed on the Mrs. Mitchell, I narrowed my eyes. "You owe Schuyler and Oliver a jar of pickles," I said. Then I placed my hand on the glistening star atop the Duncans' Christmas tree, and like a sudden stroke of magic, it was I who was finally liberated.